look, I think it's time for Bring It In. Sometimes Judy isn't here, and the hosting, I mean, the production can get a little amateurish. Judy's not here.
Yes,
show you guys.
But the good news is we can break laws all over the place now.
Yeah, that's true. We have no legal oversight whatsoever.
I feel so relieved and ready to go.
Why waste time talking basketball? We should talk about something like we should impugn powerful people. Like, let's just do fun, crazy stuff.
To quote Kramer from a great Seinfeld episode, it's time to let the expletives fly.
I think Greg pointed out that he thinks we curse more as the week goes on. Like, I think that could be true. Like, Friday's a big cursing day.
You get the chart. Yeah.
Okay. So a huge shout out to Jarod, who like 30 seconds ago agreed to be the person who attempts to keep up with the screen sharing, which I just was like, this is too hard for me. So,
okay. Challenge with this group.
Yeah. It could be hard. I actually sort of think we should talk about Andre Drummond to open the show.
Okay.
Yeah.
No. We have to start out the show.
Yeah.
Giving you, Henry Abbott, some props.
Okay.
So you guys all know he's doing this literally a jillion-part series on billionaires and what they're doing. And of course, it made me think of this awesome thing, which I'm going to play right now. And hopefully, when I share the screen, it's going to work itself out well. Listen, I can't make any promises. We're going to try it.
Okay, I'm already impressed, Rod. Just your confidence is inspiring.
Listen, Henry, you gotta have some. All right, here we go. Share screen. What do you guys see?
I see your screen.
There we go.
Whoa, is that porn? No, I'm kidding.
No.
That's nice. Where is that?
What's wrong with you?
I don't know.
There we go.
Okay. Oh, yes. Lester Freeman.
You follow drugs, you get drug addicts and drug dealers. But you start to follow the money, and you don't know where the fuck it's going to take you.
And that's our good friend Henry right now. He doesn't know where the money's going to take him, but it's taking him somewhere.
I'm the guy messing with the tiny furniture in the back. Like,
that guy, what's he doing? Don't worry about it.
He just part. Lester Freeman.
But I'm still hearing Lester. You hearing Lester? Oh, we go. Lester shuts up when Lester wants to shut up, not when we want Lester to shut up. Like, that's the deal, right?
Not to take away from what you're doing, Henry. Obviously, it's amazing. I enjoy the weekend read too, where I can sit back. There's no games in the morning, whatever. It was nice. But there's that great scene in The Untouchables where Sean Connery's character is showing Elliot Ness, like where the booze is, and Elliot Ness seems so surprised, and the old cop is like, no, we all know what's going on. Are you willing to, when you go through this, to take on what you're gonna be taking on? It seems to me that you're not the only brilliant writer out there that knows we should probably be tracking some of these money things. You're just brave enough to do it.
It's funny. I mean, maybe I'm the last guy to know this, but like the one kind of thing that I've learned recently that's like, holy crap, is like 1960, 1970, the financial sector was about 4% of GDP in the US.
And now
by 1990, it's like double that. And
what year was the first quote?
60, 70. It's like pretty stable. Like, banks are a pretty boring business for most of their life.
Until
right?
when?
So basically, here's what I'm telling you. And like, I am the 17,000th person to make this point. But like, cocaine became a big freaking deal in the US over the course of the 80s. There are people who've testified before Congress that they were moving billions of dollars in cash. And you put it in the bank, you get in the bank system, you bring that bank, that gets transferred to New York, and the banking system doubled in size over that decade. Jarod's just nodding and nodding and nodding. Like Jarod's like, yeah, I knew this a long time ago. But yeah, I think this is like, this is the kind of, this is the essential crime behind what's going on here, right? This is why the follow the money thing is such a big story, because it's like half the money. You know what I mean? It's like a lot of money.
Yeah.
Anyway, yeah.
The money's the thing, right? That's ultimately what this is about. I mean, that line is so analogous to so many things, right? It's like it's a critique on like the war on drugs being bullshit, right? Because what does that do? It follows low-level petty people doing. Who gives a shit about that? That ain't the problem. That is not the problem. The problem is, where the hell is all this money coming from to finance all this stuff? Oh, and you start asking the right questions. People don't like when you ask those questions, and it's,
there's a guy named Richard Gregoire. I'm not sure what he's doing now, but he was in charge of the drug war from the U.S. Attorney's Office in Miami in the 80s. And after 8 years, I think 8 years, he resigned in frustration because he's like, my job is to move up the organization and start figuring out how this works. And every time we get close to the top, they're like, "Oh, there's a problem with that. You can't know." And he's mad. He went and testified for Congress. How mad? He couldn't do his job. So
I would also remind you that Ronald Reagan was elected in 1980, and then literally, if I remember correctly, I was 15. Started talking about the say no, just say no, and the war on drugs kind of began. I would argue, I would guess anyway, that there's a strong connection between who was elected, that the deregulation of the banking industry, and what you're talking about. There's it's all connected.
3 years before him. Yeah, it's like 3 terms before him. It's just when you really just dig but that stuff, you do just surface like, oh shit, look at that. And then you really start asking you don't get the answers you want, right? Then they just start shutting you down. Like, all right, so Henry, just watch yourself. What?
People say that to me all the time, Jarod.
I've been saying that for a long time, Jarod.
Watch yourself.
Listen, is it help that I barely ever leave the home?
There's a reason why I always say I have a pool and a pond. Pond's good for you.
Yeah.
Far away from the pool.
What does that mean?
It's a line from Caddyshack. Pool and a pond be good for you. Jimmy Casey and Bill Murray.
Listen, I just want to talk about Andre Drummond. All right, you guys are all getting on Lester Freeman.
Yeah, I got some thoughts on Drummond.
Yeah, let's do it.
I just see some comments in our chat too. I'm not ready to make any predictions, as astounding as that might be, because he was terrible in Cleveland, but this ain't going to be Cleveland. And the guy has game. I mean, for years, he's been a very, very good defensive player and a plus offensive player. And he's been playing with garbage for a long time. Imagine what he might be able to do with a team trying to win a championship. Forget about the talent. That's a separate thing and a good thing. But just a purpose. Like, those guys are trying to win games. And I think LeBron also might be say, what the fuck are you doing? Like, I think that's coming too. And AD, who wasn't afraid to challenge LeBron before they ever teamed up officially, now is on that team too. Come on. I think we might see something meaningful. Now, of course, we all know they didn't even play Dwight and JaVale in 2 of those 3 playoff series last year, but they needed them against Jokic. And if you think about who's in the West, not just Jokic, but Rudy as well, and DeAndre Ayton in Phoenix, and I can go on and on, I think it matters. And I do. I think it matters. And he brings something very different than Gasol. He's actually a good passer. He's not Marc Gasol. He can't shoot, right? But he can play in space, and he can impact a defensive rebounding team against a team that really goes to the glass. I don't know what we're going to get from him. If it's the Cleveland version from this year, bad news for LA. I don't think it will be, though. But I need to see. But I don't think it will be. I think it was a good get for them. Very, very good get.
I think I agree with you, Coach. I think a lot of what we're talking about here is, and we talked about this on Fridays on Bring It In Show. What were you in your previous stop, and what do I need you to be at this new stop? Right? Like, in Cleveland, when there's a bunch of young guys and not a lot of leadership around there, and it's sort of like, well, we don't know what's going on. You're kind of doing goofy things and looking crazy, and we're like, what are you even doing? One, we know LeBron ain't going to tolerate that crap from the start. Number 2, we don't need you to think that we don't need you to score 20 points. No. Rebound, catch lobs, like that, right? So then you become overqualified for your role, right? Like Aaron Gordon in Denver. You were the guy in Orlando. Nah, you're number 3 here, dude. So it's just different, right? You then become better suited because all the things you were doing over there that maybe you weren't as good at, we cut those things out. Let's only do what you are good at, because that's going to help us win a title. So
it gives them some versatility. It gives them needed depth. It gives them different things they can try. The postseason, you're moving chess pieces around the board. It's a nice chess piece to have.
It's also, I mean, look, he can play basketball right now. They almost lost to the we're tanking now Orlando Magic, right? Like, like, here's a strong man who's available to play, right? Like,
He's young.
helpful.
Henry. He's only 27 or 28. He's not like 30. He's young.
Yeah, I think it was good for them. Definitely.
Well, I think actually, so to what Jarod just said, right? Like, you change situations, or you said to David, like, you might be more valuable. And Wayne Winston has been on the show, did a bunch of research, and players bop around the league, and mostly they don't make leaps up or down, right? Mostly they're kind of on the trudge that they're on, right? You get a little better until mid-20s, then you kind of start going down, then you hit a cliff. But there are some coaches who have a track record of getting a different result, and certainly on defense, I think Frank Vogel's one of those guys, right? Like, this is like if he went to a lot of teams, I think I would be like, lesser role, bigger role, whatever. He's probably going to be about what he was, but I think I believe in this. And actually, it's funny. I think I believe in. I just did a little research on the Lakers are. I could easily make a case that they're going to say they have to sweat the play-in tournament. That they're like, they're pretty bad without their stars. This isn't news, and they have to worry about where they're going to line up. But then part of me is like, yeah, but with their stars, like, they haven't had a bad loss all year.
Yeah.
And I said that I think they're going to be in the finals. Maybe I'm brainwashed by watching LeBron always make the finals, but part of me is like, come on, I can just picture it. Can't you? Like, come on. like a lot of these role players are better than ever now, right? You see Kyle Kuzma hitting like a turnaround corner three or whatever, and Alex Crusoe's like the MVP defender. Like, I'm like, oh, of course if Anthony Davis is healthy and LeBron's healthy, then they're both rested. Like, fuck it, they're gonna be great. Like,
That's the if.
And they have the experience, right? Because they did it last year. So it's not like that this is going to be all new for Kuzma and Caruso and those guys. They've done it before. And this is giving them, more runway. And yeah, we know in this league, the best talent generally wins. That's just right how it goes, because it's hard to beat LeBron 4 times out of 7, it's just hard to do that. So if they're healthy, yeah, they're going to be there.
It is the big if. Okay. Jarod, how are your screen sharing abilities feeling right now? You feel pretty confident?
I feel pretty good. What are we trying to share?
You want to look at this little jump ball mismatch creator thing? I just thought that was kind of cool.
Let's check that out. Okay.
I know David's going to be like, we did that in 8th grade, but it's still fun to watch.
Yeah. It's done all the time, but yeah, it's a nice little play. Yeah.
We did that in 8th grade. Oh my God.
It's one of the most basic plays in basketball.
But you don't see it very often.
That's a different story, and that's what I want to talk about. Yeah.
All right, here we go, fellas. Let's make it a little bigger.
This is the first play, Lakers versus Charlotte.
Had a chance to become the second leading.
Oh, there you go.
Booker's back screening the guy who jump center, which is Biombo.
In North Carolina, we'll be watching that throughout the course of the game.
Biombo scrambled like crazy out of it.
Basically, Devin Booker just hugs the opposing big man.
No, he doesn't hug me. Yeah, so what you're doing is you back screen the tipper. Like I said, it's a really, really common thing.
We're watching that
all through high school and college. You'll see it. Not 8th grade, because no one can dunk in 8th grade typically. But yeah, you'll see that a lot in high school and college. They didn't run it for the lob. I don't think they ran it for anything. I don't know what they ran it for. I don't think they. I mean, listen, it'd be funny if in the pregame X and O, Monty Williams said, "All right, we're going to back screen Biombo. He's going to run around like a chicken without a head for a couple seconds, and we're going to get a 3." Because that's exactly what Biombo did. He ran around.
That's what happened.
He didn't have to do that.
Yeah.
But that's what happened. So to your point, Henry, yes, it was nice to see someone run a play off the tip.
Yeah.
Instead of let's get the tip and then run our first play. That is something the NBA doesn't do as much, and they should.
See, Caleb says they do it every game. Caleb knows what's up.
I see it. We just do it. And then you play the team the second time, you show them that, but you really try to sneak in the flare 3 in the corner. Like, they're ready for the lob, so they're going to put 2 guys back, and we're going to pin them in and shoot the 3 in the corner. Yeah, that's 3-dimensional chess. So, yeah, I like it. Let's do some fun stuff when the game starts. Great.
Why not?
Yeah.
I thought, to me, so they got well, whatever. Yeah, you saw it.
He almost just ran around like, what do I do? You didn't have to do anything, buddy. He was so worried about helping PJ Washington. It was just fine in the paint.
Right. Yeah. All right, David, we talk about Florida State for a second.
Do we have to?
No, but sweet. There's a sweet thing that happened, right?
For me, when you get to the Sweet 16, this is for every team.
Yeah.
Job well done. Like, unless you have 5 lottery picks that are not freshmen, and you could be disappointed. Gonzaga is undefeated. I think losing a Sweet 16 game, you could argue that kind of ruins their season. But everyone else, even Michigan, had they lost, they were missing their arguably best player, certainly one of the top 2 players. If they had lost to Florida State, you can't get mad at them. It's amazing. Yeah, so Florida State, they really got their ass kicked. They didn't 22-7 in fouls. I'll let Randy know. I didn't love the refereeing. I typically don't ever comment on officials either way. I don't even notice them. I didn't love that too much. But after the game, whoever handles those social media. By the way, this is not unique to Florida State. As I mentioned, Alabama did this too. They post a thank you to the fans kind of thing with all the players in the huddle. I saw my son in there. And then like the first 4 people to comment all played in the NBA over the weekend, or even that night, and couldn't even watch the game. Like my brothers, whatever. That's what you're supposed to build, right? And Alabama lost in an upset. They were a 2 seed, but again, it's a football school making a Sweet 16. Good job, Alabama. And Kyra Lewis, who was it wasn't like he was there 4 years, Kyra Lewis. Like Dwayne Bacon commented for Florida State, he's been out of the league as long as all these guys pretty much have been there, except for maybe a couple guys. So Kyra Lewis said, it's my team, whatever he wrote. Like that's the joy of making lifetime relationships with these guys that go on to play in the NBA, but they're still just regular people. So I love seeing that.
Was Max pretty busted up about losing?
Well, we only checked it. He landed like at 12:45 in the morning. You know what? This is something I was going to talk about too. I mean, I think he's sad for all the guys who will play again, but these guys have been on the road since March the 7th.
Oh, yeah, wow.
Think about being 19 years old or 20, 21, 22 and something, and you've been gone for almost an entire month, and you can't go anywhere. So I've said this for weeks now. The NBA, as maddening as that might have been, they have lots of options to go, restaurants to go to. These guys, all of these players have nothing. They have to eat in one room all the time, if not their own room. I think every room has like a conference room for the meals. They've been to a couple like Top Golf once. They went to the zoo. That's pretty much it. They've done nothing. So I think I feel for all these teams. It's really it's a BS experience. It's better than nothing, I would argue, I guess, but I wouldn't argue strongly. I think all these guys can be home again. Like he was texting my daughter, like he's happy to go back to his own bed until I see him live a life again. They're all been nervous for so long. That's what I want to talk about the NBA too. Think about NBA players that started getting vaccinated and really might be able to get out and do things, eat in restaurants, go to bars, do whatever. NBA, every team has security guys. They keep track of that stuff, right? They're gonna go wild. I don't mean wild in a bad way, crazy way, although you never know. These guys have been super professional. We really haven't had a big breakout. These NBA players getting vaccinated who are 21 years old with money to burn, right? I think it's gonna be some wild things going on in a good way. I'm happy for them. But what do you do if you aren't vaccinated and you're an NBA security guy? And you know which players don't have it. I wonder what's gonna happen with that. I don't know. What do you think? What do you think?
I think I've heard of these cases where like, oh, we're worried about this player's going to this nightclub where they shouldn't be or whatever. And I think that security guy usually just calls New York, right? Like,
he does.
Calling New York.
Yeah, right. I guess so. Yeah.
Like, am I getting fired for this? No. Okay.
I told them we shouldn't go, but the car's already here. We're going. So
there's just the tiniest chance this guy is in the wrong place.
I read such a simple tweet today on this subject, and I know we're going to talk about COVID, which basically was, unless there's a variant that pierces previous immunity, which would mean someone who's already had it, right, or the vaccine, like we're going to be okay. Like we're moving in that direction. But we don't know. We don't know about if a variant can really pierce that previous immunity, right? And so, like I said, security's got to be keeping track of all this kind of stuff.
Well, actually, what we're seeing, Coach, while there was a period where the cases were going down in every state, everything was looking good, they're starting to see an uptick again, but the uptick is in the younger population, right? Like, and it's like people in their 20s and whatever. And it's like, well, this is the NBA's demo, right? This is. And and with the weather getting warmer now, if you're in a cold weather area part of the country, it's like, all right, like things can start getting a little dicey.
Well, and I guess there's the problem is when lots of people have infections, even if they don't have terrible, symptoms, they can inspire new variants, right? This is a big population for the virus to mutate in, right? I don't know. So it's funny. I was thinking back when we first had the story a year ago plus. An NBA GM was telling me that this was an interesting thing to worry about then, but he was worried about NBA superstars are generally insured. Their salaries are insured. And if their careers end, then two things happen. One, the team doesn't have to pay their salary because they're insured. And two, they come off the salary cap. So there's no way an injury can doom your franchise's future, right? Because the player will be out and it's all kind of accounted for. But he was really worried about, even then, what about players who were diminished by the virus, right? And as a hypothetical example, he was like, Damian Lillard at that point was owed $250 million. And he's like, what if he just became like a ninth man because of his lung capacity was a little decreased, right? Like, he's like, now the Blazers might go out of business, right? He's like, that is a tax that like we have not accounted for. As a GM, it's his job to worry about the future of the franchise. It's a little bit weird to be mostly worried about insurance implications and bottom line salary cap. We're talking about people's lives being ruined. But anyway, so, he said that. And at that time I was like, I don't even really know how to think about this. Like it's one more thing to worry about and doesn't seem that high a priority. But now I think a little bit about like, Tom wrote an article where Jason Tatum says he still doesn't feel so good. And if you look like Jason Tatum's like, 6% worse than last year, something like this. Right. And the Celtics are not contenders. Right. And I'm not saying that that's even the best example of it. I'm saying there are probably 12, 15 and we don't know all the names, but we really are kind of in this thing where like, or if you're a team that has a star who seems to be recovering a little slowly, like do you trade him?
No.
There's some kind of tough ethical things here.
That's the problem when your body is the commodity that is traded on, right? So if that thing is not functioning, that's a problem, right? That's when the people who do the bean counting for a living, the GMs and the president and VPs of basketball operations, start looking at these players as, line items on spreadsheets, where it's like, if the output for this line, which is a $250 million player, used to be a 10, but now it's a 2, that's bad business for me. Like I can't sustain that. And ethically, to your point, Henry, like how do you work your way around that, right? You say, we're not paying you. Like, I imagine, because that's what the owner's probably going to tell them to do. We're not paying that, because billionaires, one thing we know they care the most about is their money. So
no, Jarod, it's the people.
And every single penny of their money. Not like they watch everything. So this would be huge if something were to happen to a big time player in that instance. I'd be shocked if any team did quote unquote the right thing. I would be floored if they did.
Also, it'll be interesting to see as players get vaccines, how many are missing a game and what they're going to say about it. Are they going to say, illness, rest? What are they going to call it?
Yeah.
I know someone that got the J&J vaccine and was really sick, like sweated through his sheets sick, 21 years old. And then fine, but a bad night. Players are going to get, it's like someone punched in the arm. That's not a big deal.
Right.
But you could fever. This is the way your body reacts to these things as designed. And so I just want to see how transparent they are. It'd be nice if the players wanted to say it, just to inspire other people to want to do it. But
that's the thing, Coach. It's because you've talked to people, obviously, who've gotten the vaccine or whatever. Like, there's a wide range of what happens. Some people feel nothing.
Yep.
Some people, it's like, I'm dying.
Yeah.
And it's everything in between. And with these players, it'll be the same thing. And we know that some players are coming out saying, get the vaccine and do it, right? Sharon Jackson Jr. posted his shot of getting his, like, but other people like are just either being super mom and not saying anything, or say, or in Kent Bazemore's case, no sir, not taking the vaccine, right? So it's just, you're gonna get all of that and everything in between. I wonder how much peer pressure is gonna impact, right? Like if you're on the Lakers, And LeBron's like, no, you're taking the vaccine. I mean, I bet you're not saying no, right? Like, I mean, I don't know. Like, I would imagine, okay, I don't have a choice.
Well, there's a bigger thing, right? Like, I don't know what's going to happen with the like holdouts outside of the NBA or inside, right? But I know that we don't know until they're a minority, right? So when 20% of America's gotten the vaccine, everyone's like, I'm not going to do it. I'm not going to do it. But when 80% of America's gotten the vaccine, it feels very different to be a holdout, right? Like we'll see, right? But by the time, like, that means when I'm making up numbers, but you know, when your parents and everyone at your kid's school, or once you get a thing where like, who are you upsetting by being a holdout? When that list gets really long and it includes people who are influential to you, like maybe those numbers of holdouts are lower.
Yeah, the parents who won't get it, but their college-educated children will, and are saying, "I ain't coming to come to see you. I'm a dad. I'm not coming to see you." That's happening too.
I want to honestly. Here's the thing. This is an aside. I would love to see like public figures, politicians, whatever. Do your adult children support you? Right. I like to see an index of this. Like I Mitch McConnell's kids are like left-wing activists. I don't know if you know this, but like,
Oh, are they really?
yeah. But I was like, oh, that'd be interesting to kind of like track, like, just I'd like to see a little chart of that, like what do your kids support you? What's your position? Is there a trend? Is there anything interesting there? Like, I'm like, oh, that'd be interesting to see.
Oh, I like that. So we have to put someone on that.
Yeah.
That's good.
Okay. I want to talk about David, you made a big Terrence Mann point when nobody was talking about Terrence Mann, and now he's okay. Let's say he's averaging 10 and 5 in the last 15 games for the Clippers, 15 and 8 per 36 in the last 15, and he has a net rating of +7 in the last 15 games, whereas Patrick Beverley is -4.4. You, sir, were way ahead of the curve on this one.
Yeah, I mean, anyone that followed him, he played for a coach. He played his dad's a high school coach, and he's just one of those, like, we all know players that they just exude exuberance and joy. Terrence is one of those guys. He's not Pat Beverley. Pat Beverley does it his way, and I love Pat Beverley, and did when he was at Arkansas. I was a big Pat Beverley fan, but he's more in your face, grinder, tough, gritty. Terrence Mann is like kind of like Corey Brewer. He does it with joy and a smile, but he's trying to kick your ass all the time, and he's not been good. I mean, there was a period of time this year where he was one of the worst players, but they just kept going with him. And I told you before the season, because I thought losing Landry Shamet was a problem. And then you kind of told me there's some other things about Landry Shamet that maybe he isn't such a great teammate. I don't know. And this guy is. And I said, okay, I think they did it because they know they got Mann. I knew that Kawhi and Paul George loved T-Man last year. And that says something when you're a rookie and those guys say, hey, you're our guy. And so here he comes. Like he is not your typical quarterbacking guard, which he did play point guard in college. He goes and rebounds. He looks like he'd be a great defender. He hasn't been. It's coming. He's 24. He's in his second year, and Doc wouldn't play him. In fact, I was reading some tweets from Clippers fans over the weekend. I didn't follow him last year at all, really, where they were like, he just had a monster game against Doc Rivers' Sixers. He had like 23 and whatever, and was the key to them winning the game because Ty Lue was playing him, and Doc wouldn't. So I do think he's just like the Lakers added Drummond, very different player, very different role. I think T-Man makes a difference for the Clippers. He does have that kind of, he's got to be able to shoot the ball, and he's shooting well lately. It doesn't mean he'll keep shooting it. I can't predict that. But he's a gamer. He's a competitive dude. He's talented, knows how to play. That's a very important thing. Helps to have his dad being a high school coach, coach his son. The Clippers didn't know they can count on him come playoff time, but he's trending in the right direction, which all this does. The Drummond, the Aaron Gordon, right? The T-Man in LA. It's just mixing up, Jarod, for a feast for us in the postseason in the West. Like, Portland is bad compared to these teams. But they got David and CJ, who is CJ's a joke. What he is doing is a joke. And someone's got to play those guys in the first round.
Yeah.
Like, come on. It's going to be an unbelievable. If all these guys can stay healthy, which is, we'll talk about the Jazz later, why the Jazz, I think, have a huge advantage. Because they're going to beat each other up, and guys are going to get hurt. It's going to ruin what could be an amazing postseason.
I mean, West playoffs every year is always this gauntlet, and this year is no different, right? I mean, even if the Blazers are like a 6 seed, Dame will win you a game by himself. CJ will win you a game by himself. All right, that's 2, right? Like, and you're going to be shitty 1 game. Okay, that's 3, right? Like, it's just it's just going to be nuts. I see a lot of deep playoff series happening. You know, Henry, this is what Coach is talking about. Something you always talk about, which is the idea of young legs helping you in the postseason.
That's exactly what I was thinking about. I'm like, yeah.
And Doc, and he's not alone in this. Doc, like the other coaches, they know they want to go with the known, right? This is what I know because of past, but it's like the stock market. Past performance do not indicate future results, right? Just because they did it before doesn't mean they're going to keep doing it.
Brand names don't do a damn thing.
Young dudes, right? Like who you don't know. Yeah, but I need fresh legs because we're going deep into, in this case, July, whatever, and end of July. Like, we need young guys who can play. So Lou playing man is huge. Nash playing Nicholas Claxton is huge. Like, don't let these vets come in and take their minutes. Like, bad look for you. Like, it's a bad idea.
Well, it's not like, I don't believe that you should just in general play young players, right? Like, but if you play a lot of young players all season long, A, you have less LeBron sitting out with injuries, right? But B, some of them will earn your trust, right? And well, brilliant, right? Fantastic. Like, that'll be great because, whether it's Bam Adebayo or like young, whatever, there's always deep in the playoffs. There are always some young players, Alex Caruso, etc. It's like, wow, well, look at that. All those Raptors, right? The Raptors had a whole bunch of young dudes. Like, your championship team is going to have somebody who can run really fast and jump really high and play aggressive D and fall down and get back up and doesn't have those Mike Miller tendons, right? Like, that's the problem.
So speaking of Mike Miller, Henry called me when LeBron first did his announcement, Jarod, for Miami on TV, and I just got to Vegas for Summer League, and it's on the internet. Henry interviewed me. We worked together, but he interviewed me. Like, what did he do? And I said exactly what you guys just said. Like, athletes, shooters, just run people out. LeBron's the best athlete in the world for his position. Chris Bosh is probably the best athlete in the world, give or take, for his position. Dwayne Wade is the Flash for a reason. Double down on that. Run people out, and then let these veterans teach these young guys how to play. Right? Yeah. You're going to win plenty of games anyway. So lose a few more during the season as they learn, and then have all these athletes in the postseason, and they did exactly the opposite.
Well, they did yell at Mario Chalmers for years.
Mario Chalmers was never the athlete. Never an athlete. You would never say Chalmers is athletic for his position. Mike Miller, I have the best Mike Miller story, and I mean this in the best way. I may have said this once before, I don't remember, but I teach veteran players this now. When their role goes all the way down to the Mike Miller role, which is you may sit down for an hour and a half and then come into the game and have to make it 3. That's what Mike Miller did in practice. He would sit, legs crossed, like he would in the bench watching practice, and then he'd come in, get a couple shots up, go sit back down. Training his body, you're going to make 3s when you're at rest for an hour. Brilliant.
Practice what you're going to do in the game. This is what's going to happen in the game.
Right. Brilliant. I tell veteran players when they get to that age, that's what you got to practice at least a couple times a week. Now, you have to stay in shape and all that, but on some days, just sit for 45 minutes, then come in and launch a 3. Right? Go sit back down. Game realistic.
Wait, and on that note, do you think JJ Redick's going to be good in Dallas, or is he done?
My people tell me he's going to be good. Like, the people I've talked to think when I say good, it's all relative, right? No, they think that he's going to be good, and they think Nicolo Melli is going to be very good. I haven't looked yet. Have they played yet in Dallas?
No, I thought he was still coming back from injury. Isn't he hurt a little bit still?
I meant Melli. I thought Melli was okay. I don't remember if they got it because Fournier is out for Boston for COVID protocols.
Oh,
but Aaron, I was surprised too, Jarod. But Aaron Gordon played last night.
Yeah.
Oh, and Aaron Gordon looked right at home, I thought. And then he had some quotes after. Actually, I think I wrote it down here. Here's Aaron Gordon after they cruised to a win over the Hawks. I see no limits for this team. It looks like we have all the pieces that we need. We have the depth. It's like we are covered in a lot of different spots offensively, defensively. As long as we're all working together, there's no stopping us.
You're
like, new guy, could you stop ramping up expectations?
You know what my first thought was when I read that?
No.
How would you know? You never made it past game 5.
You played for Orlando. You never been out of the first
How
round.
do you possibly know? I mean, you know what the other team looks like when they're kicking your ass. But
Oh my
yeah,
god.
that was my first thought. No, I love that you should have swagger, right? He's in a great. It was a great get. We talked about this on Friday. He's a great fit. It's like Gronk in his prime with Tom Brady in his prime. Like Aaron Gordon is this gigantic specimen man that catches everything. And they've got the best quarterback in the league right now in Jokic, right? So pretty good.
Hey, wait, has there ever been a player as good as Jokic who jumped less? I
mean, Moses Malone.
How high did Larry Bird jump? Not that high. I mean, higher than Jokic, but not that high.
No, Moses Malone when he won a championship. But Moses Malone when he was 20 was as athletic as any guy you ever saw, right? He was. I mean, no one sees his highlights, but they're amazing when you do. But when he did faux, he didn't jump at all. He padded his own stats. Yeah, he was, man, I need 6 more rebounds today. Let me miss a couple of these boards so I can grab the rebound.
I mean, it's amazing. I mean, Jokic, like, it's not that he can't jump. I mean, it is that he can't jump, but mostly what I know is like he just doesn't. Like, play after play, you're like, well, we're going to see who can get higher. It's like, no, the dude just jumped, and Nikola Jokic did not, and that's why that play went that way. Like,
economy of motion, Henry.
You remember the greatest meme of all time, the Damian Lillard face when he hits the game-winning 3 and he looks at the camera, surrounded by people, right? Like I'm the fucking man. Jokic plays the whole game that way. Like he just knows he's better than everybody. And so nothing phases him. He just has that Lillard face all the time.
It's really interesting how this all plays out with Denver, right? Because he, I don't want to, I'll tease something. New TrueHoop TV video series coming out this week.
I can't really wink, but there you go.
Well, Jokic may very well, as I said last week, he may not be the best player in the world, but he's playing the best basketball in the NBA right now. Right. Will that translate to the postseason, right? Will he win those 16 games, right? And then let's say he wins the MVP. If he doesn't, are we doing the referendum thing, right? Where it's like, well, it worked in this context, but didn't work in this context. And I think it's so interesting when you look at that because really the NBA playoffs versus the regular season, smaller sample size, right? By a considerable margin. But the games are higher leverage, right? So, of course, we give it more weight. It's like, well, it counts more because you did it in this moment because you're playing the best teams, right? You're not getting Orlando. You're not getting, Cleveland. No, it's only really good teams you're playing against. And I think it's interesting to see how teams and how the conversation and discourse changes around players and athletes when they do certain things in the regular season versus what they do in the playoffs. All fascinating.
Well, let's be fair too, guys. Their second best player, you said Gordon, the third best player, but I know you well. You think he's their fourth best player.
Of course I do.
So, but still, Jamal Murray, never an all-star, right? Am I right? Okay, right. Michael Porter Jr., third year in the league, having not played college, and then Gordon. And you could argue Gordon, who's better, whatever. I mean, he ain't playing with a bunch of Hall of Famers yet.
No.
So it's unfair. Jarod's point is exactly right. If they make it to the finals, which no one is predicting, who knows? I mean, it's going to be I'm not predicting anything seriously in March.
Yeah, wait until April.
Yeah, we have no idea when it's going to happen, but I mean, they're on the upswing. This team's been better.
It's absolutely realistic they could be in the finals, as is the Jazz. As the Jazz could easily be in the finals. Probably on paper the favorites, the Clippers, the Lakers. We cannot just discard the Phoenix Suns, right?
No, we can't.
They're good.
They're really good.
My feelings on the Blazers are well known. This is why these year's playoffs are going to be fantastic, right?
And we didn't mention Luka.
Didn't you?
Yeah, and that dude.
I'm less worried about the Mavericks.
That's what they want you to be. Yeah, I wouldn't mess. I wouldn't. I mean, I don't think Dallas will be there. You're not wrong in that, but. They can. He's good enough. Well, Jarod put it great. I write this all the time. I used to write this about the Rockets when they took all those threes.
Hold on, keep talking.
Oh,
if they can make a ton of threes, they should like Houston. Well, they're doing 4 games in 7. If they do a 3 games in 7, which is possible, you're probably losing all 3 of those. And then you might just play terribly one game and they'll beat you not making a lot of threes.
Right.
Luka's good enough in one series where he might win you 3 games, right? And then you just have to play terribly one, and all of a sudden you've lost to the Mavericks. I just don't think he can do it yet for 4, at least not as currently constructed. Although I will tell you, I've never been a fan of Timmy Hardaway Jr. I liked his dad better. I like him now. Like I was probably wrong. Like he's pretty good. They're not there yet. They're still a work in progress. Porzingis can really get to that level. You know, that's a game changer.
But had a rebounding game the other night. He was good.
He can do that.
How would you use him, David? Like if you were Rick Carlisle, how do you play Kristaps Porzingis?
I mean, well, I'd have to look to see what he's doing in isolation down low. I don't think it's great.
Yeah.
And if the answer is that he's good, I mean, I'll tell you what I do. I use him a lot like they use Jokic. I would teach him how to play. He can't be Jokic. He doesn't have to be. He has Luka. But I would use him more as a facilitator. And I've not studied them recently to see if they're not doing that more. But what I wouldn't do is limit his ceiling. I would want him to do a lot of things. Get him in mismatches, see if he can't, beat guys down and make the easy pass or score, shoot threes, maybe even run Duncan Robinson actions for him. He was over time. He's an agile guy, right? I think they need to make him into a versatile all-star. He doesn't have to be a first-team all-league player. They already have one of those guys. But be top 15, top 30 in the league on both ends, and he's a great partner then for Luka. If he's not, he doesn't get there, it's a different story.
He's not Kyle Lowry. Like, I mean, I say this like
Who is it, Luka?
No, Luka's a whole different thing. Kristaps Porzingis though is like, so, his length, his agility, his shooting ability, all this stuff is skill, right? Yeah. It, is a scout's dream, right? They call him the unicorn.
7.3, yeah.
But how frequently, I don't know. He's one of the players I've spent, 20 minutes of a game where I just watch him and I'm like, there's so much time he's on the court that he's not doing magical things. Yeah. Right. He's not in position to, he's like, doing an okay job defending someone who's amazing with the ball or whatever, like, I'm just like, well, he's not killing it right here. Right. He's not killing it now. I just didn't, and then they had this little fight about do you post them up or not. And Rick Carlisle lectured some reporters on like basically post ups are done. And but I'm like, maybe you should. I don't know, but I feel like what they're doing now, I don't really understand it.
Yeah.
I'm gonna watch him a little bit more because of Luka. I mean, he's just that kind of player where there's no ceiling if you have him on your team, but you do have to develop other guys.
Yeah.
Superman needed the Justice League.
Mm-hmm.
Oh.
Couldn't do it by himself.
Wait, so this was an analogy?
I don't know, but my wife and I are watching Zack Snyder's Justice League cut. It's 4 hours long, so I'm not joking. We're at least 8 or 9 days into this because we don't have 4 hours. Dude.
Well, it's Justice League, so I think a good segue, Henry, is super teams, right? And like all the hand wringing on Twitter about, and even Devin mentioned in the chat about the Nets being this supreme, super duper super team. And I know Coach and Henry both agree with me. They have 3 top 15 players. 3.
Yeah.
The rest of them dudes may have been names at one point in their careers. Yeah. And if you look at every possible relevant stat, they are not good. Like LaMarcus Aldridge, not good. DeAndre Jordan, not good. Right? Blake Griffin, not good. Like those guys are not good. But here's what's going to happen. Yes, they have 40 All-Star appearances. I get all that. But none of those dudes made All-Star anytime recently, besides the top 3.
If they signed Kareem today, they'd have 58 combined All-Star appearances.
And they would lose
because they win games.
Years old.
And they're not like, they're the best offense of all time. And the defense is absolutely terrible, right? Like they are not a home run for anything, right? Like it might work. It probably will work. Let's be honest. Like, but it's not because of how they've played so far. Right. They need to improve dramatically to be a finals team. And maybe there's a buckle down, put all your energy in playoff mode for them. But so far they haven't.
Here's what I think will happen, Henry. And this will sort of like, and again, it's that idea of the whole Doc thing, the known commodity versus the unknown, right? Blake Griffin, DeAndre Jordan, Marcus Aldridge, those are all names that our brain, when we hear them, it activates something. Mm-hmm. Ooh, 20 plus points a game, 10 rebounds, all-star, right? No matter if it happened a million years ago. in a playoff series, one or two or more of them is going to hit a big shot in a game they win. Everyone's going to say, see, we told you this team is unfair. When you look back at like the numbers of what they've done all playoffs, you'll be like, maybe they wouldn't have been in this game if they put a league average person in their place. But, you know, but all we know is high leverage moment, shot win. Yeah, they're better than everybody else.
Amin, for some reason, the way my weekend went, I listened to Amin. It seemed like all weekend I was listening to Amin on different podcasts. But Amin, I heard him say a few different times, has a very good point to your point, Jarod, about like name brands and the Le Batard crew, Miami based, a lot of Miami focus on that podcast, which is a wonderful podcast. Like, oh, Victor Oladipo, like Pat Riley does it again. Here's an all-star for nothing, blah, blah, blah. And, in a very polite way, which is not Amin's signature maneuver. He's like, hey, like he just got this year's shooting out of the 30s percentage-wise, right? Like he's not very big. And they talked about how he was once an all-world defender. And he's like, not since his injury. Like not at all, right? And, it's just a Victor Oladipo today. I'm rooting for him. I hope it goes beautifully. I hope they win a championship. It'd be great. It'd be fun to watch. But like, he hasn't been that player, even though he's still not old. That's not how he's been playing, right? If we just look at our dunks and three stats or whatever, like you say, Jarod, like these Nets are some incredible players, and the other guys.
You're right. 3 years ago.
So there's two things here. When I neglectfully chose the Heat to be in the finals a couple weeks ago because of their win streak and because of my love for Spoelstra, and hadn't watched them really play much. And then over the weekend, I studied them and said to you, I was wrong. Mm-hmm. That's projection based on data, good or bad. We can look at players, Aaron Gordon as an example. We know where he was and where he's going is a good thing for him. His partnership with Jokic is easy to see. No different than most of us who thought Wade and LeBron would be able to play beautiful music together. It didn't seem at all likely or impossible that they couldn't, right? The other thing, which is what you're saying, which is the guy, whether it's injury issues and he's been not doing well for a year and a half, or it's just the brand name guy. Well, now you're just doing it on faith. It doesn't mean it won't happen, but it's just, you didn't predict it. There's nothing in the data that lets us know it's going to happen. It's just faith. That doesn't mean, like, if Andre Drummond, to me, it's easier to bet on Andre Drummond because he's just been stuck on a river flowing backwards, right? And there's no injury issue that he's dealing with. He just was on a terrible, and the Cavaliers are terrible.
Terrible.
Really,
five terribles.
Yeah, I watched them over the weekend. I just thought, I feel for those guys. And then I started watching Drummond tape and I thought, well, what do you know? Like it's going to feel like he got a blood transfusion. Mm-hmm. Like these games, again, forget about the talent next to him. It's just playing important games does something to your spirit. It doesn't. Blake Griffin, different story, right? Blake's already played a bunch of those games and is just aged out and injured out. And it's still nice and he might make a play here and there, but you're just hoping he's some kind of great player. There's no reason to think that he would be. Drummond, Aaron Gordon, we can make a different projection. I think Oladipo will be better, but because he, again, going to a much better situation. But he was injured, and we have no idea if he's going to be okay. It's just a guess.
The data tells you that, Coach, right? Because Andre Drummond, while he was on that terrible Cavaliers team, still 90th percentile defensive plus minus, right? Yeah. Even as bad as they are, he's still impacting winning basketball. All those other guys we mentioned, negatives across the board. So it's it's just not good.
Well, and I'm a fan of checking the plus minus based stats and kind of seeing like what's the trend line. But sometimes the mechanism of, so like let's say if they're having you stand in the corner on offense, but you're fantastic with the ball, like that might be why your numbers suck, right? If you know that, like if everyone can see, oh look, they're using this guy in the wrong spot, like we will move him over here, right? If you understand the mechanism, different story, right? Well, now we know, like this is a little bit reason why I asked about JJ Redick, right? Like was he just doing the wrong stuff? Like, you know what I mean? Like because he's been kind of bad for a while. But maybe there's a reason for that, right? Maybe there's a renaissance.
I think he'll be. I mean, he's got to be a target player. Like there's certain times you play him. He's not an everyday 25-minute a game guy. Yeah, I don't mean that.
Yeah.
But I think he can help in a role. when you just got to get a guy that can really shoot, really compete, knows how to play, but he can't be your answer. He's not the savior.
Yeah.
Speaking of saviors, this guy's not a savior either, but I do want to mention it. I remember Henry asking about Moses Brown.
Okay.
When he first signed a two-way deal with Portland, and I had never heard of him before. Played at UCLA. Why would I ever pay attention to that team? Even now, I can barely watch it. Mick Cronin is not. I'm not a fan. That's a separate issue. So, and he wasn't there, I think, when Moses played for him. Moses Brown just signed a 3-year deal with OKC. I don't know the terms yet. It's the second time they've had a G League player basically sign a deal. Lou Dort last year.
Yeah.
And now Moses. I would tell you this. I watched Moses a lot in the G League last year. Monster. I had no idea what he's doing. None. Monster. He's 21, I think.
Okay.
And if you look at what he's done just in the first week, they just got Al Horford. He's done for the season, not injured. It's Moses Brown time. Let him just play and play and play. And guys, they might have themselves we know their first starter for sure is Shea. We don't know if Lou Dort's officially starter off the bench. He can be a nice player for them. This guy might be their big, their 5. And when you have Shea, you don't have to have a great scoring 5. Rim runner, rim protector, which I don't think he's very good at yet. He's just a huge guy, and he competes hard. He's a long way to go from being a finished product. But at 21, I see why he gave him a 3-year deal. I don't know what the deal is. I'd love to know. But when you're coming off a 2-way deal, you'll take anything pretty much. So my guess is very team friendly. But yeah, Moses Brown had a hell of a week last week, and was first team all G League center in the month that they played. Yeah, the Thunder might have themselves a second player now.
This is the Thorpe program, right? This is actually this is also the Hollinger program. Hollinger's basically like, you can get a center, right? Like you don't have to draft high. You don't have to, right, trade MVP. Like, you can find a center. Like, this is that, right?
He's McDonald's All-American, 5-star recruit, turned down like Kentucky and Duke to go to UCLA. It's not like I don't know how he went undrafted. There might be history there. I have no idea. But he went undrafted. And they might have I think they'll probably have themselves, and on the cheap, my guess, for the next 3 years, as they're building. Then they can decide if they want to double down on him. Because in 3 years, they could be for real. Like, 3 years might be when they're just making the 8 seed, but everyone's younger than 25.
Moses Brown, Lou Dort, SGA, and 34 draft picks in the next years.
Right.
I mean, even if you're a dummy, you should be able to hit on one of them 34, right? Or package it to get something and pair it with that crew. Like, if Thunder don't find a way to become like really good, like, something's wrong somewhere. Like, that's just too easy.
No, that's a little bit like, it's funny. This is, we talked that way about the 76ers in the early days of the process, right? And you do actually have to get those players, though, right? Like, year after year, you get Nerlens Noel or whatever, and it's like, well, okay, well, like, and everyone gets a year older, and you're not in the conference finals, like, so, it gets a little touchy. But yeah, absolutely, this Sam Presti's pulling off a masterclass here in this, like, for the cost of Paul George, he can have decades of relevance.
Also a masterclass in how to keep your job forever. This is literally what he's showing you.
Yeah, they need to invest in some player development, and so it's not just about hitting draft picks, it's about making quality draft players. I think we're going to do maybe a true project on this. Henry and I talked about maybe looking into them, a deep dive into what in the hell. It's such a unique situation.
Like, what is the right way to play it? I mean, yeah, it's not totally obvious. Obviously, you can't draft all those players. Your roster isn't big enough, right? So what do you do? How do you think about it? Like, what's the play? When do you do it? When do you bring in the good play? All this stuff matters. Right?
How do you do it? Right. This is going to be, I think, a TrueHoop project for us.
Yeah, we like this kind of stuff.
It's a lot because it's a combination of a lot of things, right? Draft, develop, move a bunch of picks to get early established guy under a long-term deal. Like, there's a lot of different things you have to do to make all of that work.
So I tell you one thing.
Go ahead, Henry.
This strikes me as important. When Sam Hinkie was new with the Sixers, they had like a kind of meet the reporters thing, and we sat around in some diner in North Philly, and I had all sorts of questions, and by the end, Sam's like, look, basically, like, I'm paraphrasing terribly, what I came away from it with was like, we're not trying to lose, right? But we're going to add market value players when we're good, right? So because, I mean, this is not Sam talking, a different guy who I know, who knows a lot about this kind of stuff, worked for teams. Basically, like, to win a championship, you need to be paying like 2/3 of what your roster is worth, right? So you need to get a bunch of those undervalued people are rookies and max players, and maybe you luck into something else. But they're not free agents. Free agents are by definition market value players, right? So you can't be, you have to be below the cap and with high draft picks when you're adding the super value players. Then you can add market value stuff on top of that, right? So if I'm talking in a crazy way, I think you understand what I'm saying. Jarod's still nodding. But anyway, so that means you can't bring in your, guy who's worth about 40 million and pay 40 million when you're below the cap, because now you're never getting anybody else who's any good, right? So you got to. So to me, I think this is probably where the conversation starts. Is like, first the Thunder need to use picks and Moses Brown to get pretty good. Then you start adding, title winning players.
And I want to give you, we got a few minutes. I want to give you a little insight. I probably have told maybe this once. Jarod's going to laugh his ass off. Into who's the decision maker there in OKC. I was in New York probably a decade ago at a Team USA event, whatever. And Sam Presti, who I've known for a long time, his roommate in college, I trained in high school. So I've known of Sam forever, vice versa. He texted me, he's like, hey, I see you're in New York. You must have been at the game. Can we get together? I said, sure. He said, where are you staying? I told him, he's like, okay. We have to do it at 7:00 in the morning. He gave me this very nice hotel, but way out of the way, nowhere close where I was staying. And I just assumed he was staying there, and I'm wondering why 7 a.m. But I also know Sam is very secretive. So we get there at 7 a.m. I swear to you, this is true. He pulls up in a cab. There was no Uber back then. He wasn't staying in this hotel either. This little out of the way place. We go in and they sit us down. I swear to you, right next to us was R.C. Buford and some international person. And the look on both their faces was so crestfallen. Sam Presti trained under R.C. Buford. And R.C. felt like he found the special spot to have this special meeting where no one would see. And nope, Sam found the same thing. I realized the irony of that was pretty amazing.
There are so many places to meet in New York City.
I mean, come on, guys. Like, I can give you a bunch of secret places. It's
so damn fun. Sam Presti was so down. Yeah. Listen, he runs a first-class organization, having had players who played for the Thunder. Like, all I can say is 10 out of 10. Like, literally, I ask players all the time to do that. Every single player and their spouse or girlfriend, 10 out of 10. Like, first class all the way. And he's, like I said, it's an intriguing thing to look at because no team has had these kind of assets. Plus, Shai Gilgeous is really good, like really fucking good. Yeah.
I'm not sure Kevin Durant found it to be 10 out of 10.
Yeah, probably like a 7 out of 10 for him. And correct, it is OKC after all. So that's the only downside.
Yeah, no, I'm not talking about the city. I just mean how he operated the franchise. Yeah, that's all I can say. They took care of their athletes for sure.
Yeah. No, there's well, your guy went and coached there, right?
Mike
we did train like, what's that? Mike Moreau, yeah.
Mike Moreau, yeah, he did a mini camp there, yeah.
And he said that basically like everything's on time. Everyone gets a little packet with exactly what they're going to be. Like everything's just like super organized. I know, honestly, when reporters go down there, if national reporters visit Oklahoma City, I don't know if it's still true, but like Sam Presti arranges you're going to visit the museum of the bombing, right? Like there's a whole like, they care. They're on top.
Like when your access to get to the players is like, holy hell. That's just like a whole other different.
That's Spurs. That's his influence from San Antonio.
You're not going to be talking about Clay Bennett. You know what I mean? That's not the topic. Yeah.
No Clay Bennett questions.
All right, we get legal back on Wednesday?
I hope so. Yeah, I hope so.
There's nothing we can get sued on for this.
I think we're good. We're good. We just talked a little bit about narco trafficking. It's fine.
Yeah, that's fine. Everybody knows that. That's
All right, Jarod, thank you for doing the important producer part. All right, thank you guys. Thank you, David. See you on Wednesday.
Or good day.